Hey everybody, it's Rajesh here.
Intane here.
Welcome to our podcast, Baskets of Knowledge, Chats with a Difference. In our podcast, we invite guests from around the country and around the world to talk about how they got to where they're at the moment. It's about a journey, it's about an experience, it's about their life. Kia ora koutou, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Baskets of Knowledge. I think this is episode number 85, 86, or 87. I don't know. It doesn't actually matter. They're all amazing to us. Sorry, Tani can't join us today because he's away doing some pretty cool things, coaching a women's rugby team, which is fantastic for him. And my musings of it today. Well, last night I had to host a book hour for another coaching company that I work for, and it was really quite cool because I went in with a idea of the book I wanted to speak about. And it changed very quickly when I realized who my audience was. And what it taught me was it doesn't actually matter about what the book is, it's about the concepts. So I went in to speak about one of them, which is Sunil Lal's book, but I realized very quickly the audience would not react to that. So I shifted quickly to a book that is, I think it's just as controversial, but pretty amazing, is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, which I think is a great book. But my learning from there was somebody just popped in and said, hey, these are awesome books, but let's not forget about children's books, because children's books also teach us a lot. And I was like, yeah, we go and delve for all these self-help books that are pretty amazing out there. But hey, read Harry Potter. If you read, all those books that we from our childhood, there's lots of learning someday, which as you grow up, you pick up. So my learning for today and for this week is in my basket of knowledge I picked up, it doesn't matter what you read, everything's got to has an impact. So go read. Now I could keep monologuing forever, but monologues are pretty boring. So as you know, our guests who are our first-time visitors, thank you for jumping in. For those who have been listening to us from day one, thank you for joining us. And as you know, we scour the country and the world to bring guests that we think are pretty amazing. As always, we think everyone's amazing. We think everyone's got a story to share, but this is not my full-time gig, so we can only pick a few people to bring on. And today, I'm really lucky and really privileged to invite our guest, Aarthi, onto the podcast. Welcome to our podcast, Aarthi.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Prajesh. This is so awesome and exciting to be on here to have this talk with you guys.
No, brilliant. Awesome. Cool. Before we get started into our conversation, do you want to tell our listeners and I guess myself a bit about who you are at the moment and who you are as a human being and where you are at this point?
Okay. That's a bit of a big question to start off with. Who am I as a human being?
Yeah.
Well, kia ora. My name's Aarthi Candadai. I am 16 years old. I live in Wellington. I guess I'm kind of doing a lot of things at the moment all over the place, trying new things, exploring new opportunities. It's kind of that weird time where soon I'm going to have to start picking what I want to do with my future in university, but I actually have no idea. So it's like exploring a lot of different options and signing up to a lot of different courses. I'm a youth ambassador at Save the Children New Zealand. I am a member of the Wellington International Students Association. What else? I'm a youth counselor, Wellington Youth Counselor. So I guess I'm kind of all over the place and I love it, and I'm chaotic and I'm messy, but it's really great. So yeah.
Awesome. I love that. I start with that question there because when we speak about the question, people reflect about what they do, but they also don't speak about the cool things that they do as well. And the reason why we've got you on here is because unashamedly, I see you on LinkedIn and I see your posts and I see the cool things that you do. But also, I follow inspiring stories and I see you popped up there as a local hero as well. So this is why we thought you'd be a fantastic young person to speak about. You're chaotic there, as you said, chaotic. But in your chaos, there's lots of amazingness as well, chaos theory. So let's talk about as a 16-year-old, you're involved in all these amazingly cool things. At what point in your life did you go, actually, this is something that I'm going to get involved in? Because most 16-year-olds, well, I'm talking about myself. When I was 16, I was like, yeah, whatever, who cares? I'm just worried about playing sport and sleep and movies or whatever. But you're actually very different. So tell us about when this came to it. Actually, I want to be involved in Save the Children, being a counselor, international students. Was there something that stood out for you that actually I've got to do something about this?
Okay, yeah, that's a really good question. Thank you for that. So I live in a brown Indian household, right? And so to my parents, to my community, the most important thing is like grades, focusing, studying. So I never really, in like intermediate, even now in college, I never was really into that like going out every night kind of lifestyle. It was more, doing my work, studying, staying focused, because a lot of people my age kind of lose track of what they want, and they may not even know what they want to do in their life. So it's hard to stay track to your path when you don't know what that path is. But I guess to me, it was like I would see a lot of things that I thought, hey, I don't agree with this. I would see, children being bullied, children not having access to education, and I think, man, I wish there was something I could do about that. But maybe there is something I could do. So, one random day I went on this like Google search spree and I searched up opportunities for youth. And mind you, at this time I was like 14 years old. And so a lot of places don't actually, have anything to cater to 14-year-olds. There's like maybe like dog walking or babysitting. But apart from that, if I wanted to get involved, what could I do as a person? And so this is when I met with my friend, okay, and we just sat on her couch and we were like, I want to do something. And then it was like, let's start this thing. And I was like, okay, let's start this thing. This is so cool. And we started this thing called the Youth Show, which is basically like a performing arts group where we have over 100, young ethnic people, and it's kind of connecting them to the performing arts, helping them get back in contact with their culture. And then every year we have like a show where we invite a lot of people and we put our youth on stage and in the spotlight and give them a chance to actually grow their confidence, make new friendships, break the ice between different communities. And through that, I think a lot of opportunities have started like coming in for me. Um, and I honestly really love it because it was an impulse. It started off as nothing. It started off with two friends on a couch, discussing, hey, actually, what can we do? But now it's like this non-profit organization that we're growing and that we've been selected for like a semi-finalist in the Impact Awards for, and it's so great and amazing. But I think just, if there's no opportunities for you, then start your own because, you can't always wait for something to pop up, take action yourself. I think that's
Isn't that so cool that, all great ideas, they start in the most random places. So yours was just sitting at home with a friend and going, hey, what can we do?
exactly. I love that.
As opposed to a classroom or a lecture theater, you might have a light bulb moment there, but no action happens there until you're in your own comfy zone with your PJs, I'm guessing, or very comfy clothes,
Exactly.
which is quite crazy. But question for you is why performing arts? Why did you look at that as the medium to let people highlight their ethnic diversity?
Okay. So Wellington is kind of known as like the arts capital, right? Like rich in culture, vibrant. And I've always been like a theater kid. I've loved singing, I've loved dancing, but there's not really a lot of places where I can actually go do that, where I can actually go perform. And I know that a lot of people in my community also felt like that. And so I thought, hey, if we start something like this, then I can actually get to put people on stage and I can teach dance and I can teach songs and I can let people do speeches and debates and I can, bring this world of culture and artistic capabilities of youth, in one place. And I think I'm a really big fan of performing arts and I love it. And that's where I feel like the most myself. So I think that's why.
A beauty. And at the moment, like you said before, you've been nominated to be an Impact Award semi-finalist with this fantastic project here. But I want you to reflect back at that time there, that first step that you took from ideation to reality. Was it challenging? In terms when I say challenging, not for the two of you, but for what everyone else is saying to you that, hey, this is a silly idea, or this is not going to work, or hey, this is amazing, let's get it cracking. Which way did the road go?
Okay, so I won't lie to you, it definitely started out as a joke, okay? So we
Yeah.
were like, a show run by youth, the youth show, and we stuck with it. So we were like, okay, we're gonna get every single person we know to come and dance. We're just gonna, you know, um, rent out a hall, and then they're gonna dance. And then my dad came and he was like, okay, what money, what people, where, what are you gonna do? What's your plan? What's your goal? And I was like 14, and I was like, why are you asking me this? I just want to get started. I want to do it. And I feel like that's my problem. I have like mental blind spots that I refuse to see. And so I need someone, like my dad that can actually help me see these and tell me like, hey, you need to think about this, okay? And so it was definitely challenging getting people motivated, getting people familiar with this new concept that we've created. And when we started doing like rehearsals for dances and everything, seeing like the energy of our young people in the community and like seeing them thrive. But when their parents don't want to bring them to rehearsals or whatever, it's kind of hard. So it was very like weird because we were just starting out and we're like, okay, we're gonna make this age range from 5 to 18, and then like the 18-year-olds, the 5-year-olds kind of what we had done wrong and we could learn from it. So
I love that because, there's two things there. The one thing is said, which you phrase interesting. You're like, oh, the one thing about me is I have these ideas, but that's the blind spots. But a lot of us have ideas in our world. If we don't see the blind spots and somebody tells us the blind spots, then we just stop. Right? Cool. Oh, I didn't
yeah,
think about that. That's too hard. So what's awesome is that you didn't let that stop you, even though your dad said, where's the money? Where's the people? Most people are like, oh, at 40, like, actually, okay, this is way too hard. Not going to happen. So the fact that you and your friend said, actually, we're gonna give it a crack and off it went. And like you said, you learn. You learn,
yeah.
and this is what you've done. And talking about your first show, you spoke about 5 and 18. What is the
Yeah.
most proudest thing for you in that first show?
Okay, proudest day.
In that
Yeah,
first, no,
we'll
for
be
the
honest.
first show, for the first show, just the first show.
Okay, I don't actually remember like that much from the first show, but I think it would be there was this 5-year-old girl in the audience, okay, and during the intermission, me and my friend were obviously the MCs. We were like, okay, does anyone want to come up and you know show the audience something? And this little girl, she came up and she did a cartwheel in front of what 200 people, okay, and it was because she got inspired by all the people that she saw on stage, embracing who they are, through the performing arts, and seeing her like step out of that comfort zone and step out of that shell. Because when we started out, our aim was like, even if we can help build the confidence of one young person, then we've done a good job. And seeing that actually happen was like, oh my gosh, this is like amazing, and we're so proud of ourselves. But we were also really young and crazy, and I actually don't remember that much, but I do. That moment really stood out for me because I was like, "That's awesome."
And that's the moment, right? That's in amongst all that, getting it organized and being the MC, but the
Yeah,
fact that you open it up and somebody, when I say somebody, a 5-year-old,
yeah,
we always talk about when you're young, between the ages of 0 and 6, we just uninhibited, we just do whatever because
exactly.
there's those blind spots, nobody cares about them. And then when we turn 7, everything just changes for some weird reason,
Yeah,
some
it's like
crazy.
before we're too conscious about what everyone thinks about us, we're free and we can do whatever, and we don't really care about if people are judging us or if we look uncool doing it. And then suddenly you go to like intermediate, and suddenly the opinion of everybody else matters so much that it stops you from doing what you love. And I just think that I hate that, and I don't want young people to go down that trap, like living for somebody else, because it's your life. So who are you here to impress? There's not a single person you're here to impress apart from yourself. So stop trying. No one is gonna be happy ever. So focus on making yourself happy is like the real goal.
Totally, totally, and that's so true. And the sad thing though is it translates into adulthood as well. So we speak about young people, and what
Yeah,
happens is, yeah, young people, okay, cool, but then they take that same belief system into adulthood, and then
yeah,
next thing you know, you are 50, 60, 70, and you realize actually I haven't been able to live my life because I've been busy living someone
totally.
else's life. So it's pretty awesome
Oh,
that you start at intermediate to go, actually, hey, it doesn't matter who actually cares. You just, and
yeah,
I guess unfortunately with society and the way social media is, people are so ingrained about this perfect life.
yeah.
But hey, which is why people like you are great in trying to change that. Talking about change, I'm going to talk about obviously when I do my interviews, I do a bit of research. The one thing that really caught my eye was with the topic of change was you're really passionate to talk about education. Tell me why was that such a big thing for you? Because I loved what you spoke about. You didn't say education is bad, because we all need education, but your
Yeah.
conversation was actually about the method of education is not ideal for this time and space. What is your motivator for that there?
Okay. Well, you really have done your research. Okay. So, I think education is really important because it can open a lot of pathways for you as a person. And I'm not just talking about university, but I'm talking about if you have an opportunity to stand up for something else, then you know what you're talking about. So you can use advocacy as such a powerful tool. Um, so to me, education is really important. And I wish that schools would teach, more things that would actually help me go beyond the classroom. When I leave school, I know nothing about personal finances. I know nothing about how insurance works. And so I think that education is really important, but also not just standardized tests and exams, but how can you actually measure creativity? How can you bring out the best in students and young people? Because right now I'm in school, I'm in the middle of my like mock exams, and I'm like, why am I doing this? Why am I working so hard to get a certificate that says NCA level 1 pass? right? It doesn't really hold that much value to me. But if you gave me a certificate for applied innovation or creativity or for thinking outside the box, I would be that much more inspired to go out into the real world and make a difference. Because right now I don't know what I'm doing, and I feel like school is not properly guiding me, through all these like challenges in my life. It's like I said in my video essay when I was talking about the education system, it's like a broken conveyor belt where students are placed on one side, expected to go through this journey and come out on the other side fully equipped with knowledge and life skills, but they're like stuck in the middle and they're not actually moving forward. And so yeah, I think that education access resources, equal access for all young people is really important to me. And I also think that the education system really needs to make like a proper change to actually um, foster in young people's creativity and artistic capability. So when they leave school, they don't lose all this, and they're not just machines that can write 300 essays on demand or retire at 60 after doing something, leading a not very fulfilling life. I think that was a really long and messy answer, but I think that.
No, it was a great answer because I think there was lots of layers, and then I think the first layer that I think we need to deconstruct is what you said is your first line that you said was education, for university and stuff. And I think this is where the problem starts. That my personal opinion is that we've forgotten about the purpose of education. If we go back to industrial times, there was a purpose. You go to school because you had to have structure, you had to go work wherever, all good. But the world has changed quite dramatically in terms of options and opinions, and also in terms of what young people are doing, and also adults. And I think this is a personal opinion. I think there's a mismatch between you go to school to go to university as opposed to you go to school to learn. Two different things. Two different things. And then learn could be anything. Learn could be, okay, I want to be a physicist. Cool. I'm going to learn math and physics. Cool. Happy days. Or you go, actually, this is not my jam, but I want to be creative and I want to explore other things. Cool. But hey, let's also teach you about things like meditation, financial literacy, things about how, because one of the things that I've realized over the last few years is, stress is part of life. Stress is part of life. It is part of life, whether we like it or not. And sometimes it's a positive stress or a negative stress, right? But we are never taught how to deal with it or to handle stress. And people say, don't stress about things, but actually that's incorrect because you are going to stress about things, right? So I'm going to stress, you're going to stress. What have I been taught? What do I know about how to deal with stress? And I think that's what's missing in the system.
Important thing, right? When I was in year 10, okay, straight E's, okay, like high achiever, go to year 11, get my first not achieved, and I'm like, what is wrong with me? Okay, this is not who I am. And they don't tell you about this because I've seen so many people go through it where they're like top of the class achievers. They come to year 11, year 12, and it's like, oh, as long as I pass, this year, it's fine. And I was like, what is that? And it's burnout, right? And people don't teach you about that. They make you like grind. Don't prioritize your mental health. Prioritize your grades, okay? Pass this test so that you can go to university and you can do more learning and you can just be depressed for the rest of your life, but actually teaching me how to, manage, prioritize my tasks and my time and my well-being. But my school didn't teach me that. And so when I got that not achieved, I was like going in this spiral. I'm not good enough. I'm not going to pass. I'm not going to go to university. And me thinking that like speaks volume to the education system because I'm 16 years old and I think that I don't have a future if my grades are not going to be perfect in high school. And that's why I take my own steps. I do my own meditation. I do journaling. I do yoga. I do like take walks every day so I can take care of myself because never compromise your well-being and your health for a test or something that's not even going to matter in 10 years. I think that's really important.
And I wonder if it's the education system or actually society. Because there's two things at play here, right? So I just want you to imagine if you go home one day and you say to your parents, hey, mom and dad, today we don't know maths, no physics, no nothing, but today we learned about meditation and we learned about breath work. How many parents and families will be like, what is going on here? Is it education or is it society? That's the question, right?
That's really important. I think there's also like a lot of pressure from society to actually stick to the pathway that they've been for the past, 100 centuries. And especially with my parents, to them, education is really important because I grew up in India and I grew up in New Zealand and I have a lot of opportunities that they didn't have. And when I told them that I was studying like environmental science, they're like, oh my God, what are you doing? I think that definitely, if meditation became a subject, it's definitely like, this is such a waste of time. So why are they spending
Yeah.
time and resources on this? But actually, for us, it's so important because we're all over the place. We're teenagers. We're constantly spiraling. Our minds are racing. We need something to actually like calm down and zen out. Honestly.
Yeah, so I guess it's twofold, right? It's about
Well,
society's expectations, and the education system. And I think the two, it's we're not going to solve this on a conversation tonight, but it's so complex and so layered that one has to change for the other. But who's going to take the leap? That's the question. It's a bit like if you think about yourself on your couch with your friend there, who took the leap? We can have people can have these conversations, but someone is going to take the leap and go, I'm going to get off this couch here, blind spots, whatever, who cares? I'm going to still give it a
yeah,
crack.
that's
I'm going to
really interesting that you brought that up about like taking the leap because I just finished reading an awesome book yesterday. I read Atomic Habits by James Clear.
That was clear.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
And then there's this one chapter that talks about the difference of being in motion and being in action. And being in motion is like doing the planning, saying that I'm going to do this. And then being in action is actually like taking actionable, concrete steps to help you get closer to your goal. And I think that a lot of the time we're only in motion, we're not actually like thinking about how to actually action this out and make real change. I think that's really important that you brought that up.
Yeah, I love that because in my other capacity as a coach, I always use the analogy when I speak to clients or to classes that I'm teaching that, like you said, James Clear says you're in motion, and the example I use is a rocking chair. A rocking chair is always in motion. But is it going anywhere? It's going nowhere, right? So would you rather be a rocking chair, or would you rather be a wheelchair? So we're not saying because the wheelchair is moving elsewhere, right? But the rocking chair is staying in the same spot. There's some motion and in motion. So, and that's what you said before you go, cool, it's great to have all these ideas, but how do you take an idea and go, cool, let's actually, and if it fails, it fails. Who cares? If it fails, it fails,
Exactly.
Yeah. Um, this is really fascinating. We can keep deep diving into that there, but I'm going to shift a little focus. I'm going to talk about how did you get involved with the Wellington Youth Council? How did you step into that space there?
Okay. So I applied 2 years ago to the Wellington Youth Council, and I was 14 years old, and I got rejected. That was like a bad year for me. Okay, I signed up to everything. It was like rejection, rejection, rejection. I didn't really know what it was. Like too young, not enough experience. But I was really glad. It sounds weird, but they didn't accept me at that time because it gave me the opportunity to actually, you know, add my basket of knowledge and actually, learn more, learn skills, upskill myself, put in effort to find out things I wouldn't have otherwise done. And so then I applied again this year. So this is my very first year. I've been to like a solid 3 meetings. So very, very new role. And I applied, and this was I got an interview, and so my interview was the exact same day as my school production. So I was like stressing. I sat in this little green room in my school, and I was like doing the youth council interview and praying that no one would come in. Everyone else went and did an in-person interview, but I was the only one that did like an online interview, and I was stressed and I was hectic, right? And then I was like, I'm not gonna get in. I was so disappointed in myself. And then I got a call a week later, and this was during my badminton game that had just finished. And then I got a call. And sometimes I apply for so many things that I have no idea who's calling me. So I was like, yeah, what? And then she was like, hi, this is youth council. And I was like, oh, hi, sorry, hi. Right? And then she was like, yeah, welcome to youth council. That's really great. I'm proud of you. And so welcome in. And I was like, whoa. It wasn't real. I didn't register it at that moment. But when I was like reflecting back on it, it's actually so cool because I did get rejected from it, but I didn't let that be the end of my journey there. I came back and I tried, and even if they rejected me this time, I would still go back and try next year. Um, but yeah, it was actually this is my first year doing it, and it's really great. It's enabled me to meet a lot of great people, attend a lot of great events, and I'm really loving it. But it's challenging. There's a lot of terminology. There's a lot of there's a lack of, I guess, people that look like me, and so sometimes I feel a bit out of place. Um, but yeah, it's a learning process, and I'm getting there.
I love how, again, I'm seeing a theme here coming through, the rejection, the rejection, the rejection didn't stop you. A
Yeah.
lot of people will get rejected. I mean, at the age of 14, like at the start, at the age of 14, I wasn't really worried about applying for these things here, but obviously something in your fire, in your belly was on fire and going, actually, I want to apply for these things here and filling out those forms at 14, who does that? That's really awesome. But getting rejected, but also doing it again and applying, actually, I'm just giving it a crack. And, in rejection comes learning. And I think this is something that I'm really, 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 and I think you're also really profound about, is that when you get rejected, it's not the end of the world. You go, okay, cool. What can I do better to the next time? As opposed to, oh, damn, I'm not good enough. Two very different ways of looking at things there,
Yeah.
which is really cool. And I also want to empathize with the fact that, you've mentioned that you enjoyed being there, but also
Yes.
at some point you also feel, these are words that I'm putting into your mouth, but they could be
Yeah.
incorrect. There might be a bit of imposter syndrome because you are the only one
Mm,
that looks like you
yeah.
in
Yeah.
there. And this is quite crazy for a country
Mm,
that's super diverse,
yeah.
that there's maybe very few
Mm,
people look like you in something that is representing the city of Wellington.
yeah. Definitely. I feel like even though I have those moments where I'm like the only one, right? If I leave, if I'm like, hey, no, I'm gonna leave because I feel out of place, then I'm not actually paving the way for other
Yep.
people that look like me to come in to the same role and really step into it, because it's kind of be the role model that you wish you had growing up. You
Yeah.
know, I didn't really have many of those when I was growing up. And that's why whenever I was in my cultural attire and my dad was like, let's go on a Packensack, I'd be like, no, I'm going to stay in the car. Or, like the bindies whenever I was wearing one. And then I was with my like white friends, I would take it off before I went, because that's kind of how I was taught. I didn't have someone that actually told me, hey, embrace who you are. It's your culture. Be proud of it. Take pride in it. It's who you are. Um, so that's kind of who I want to be now. But I'm also a very, take the risk or lose the chance type of person. So when you're talking about, like signing up to a million different things, and even if I get rejected from it, at least I tried. I think honestly, just showing up sometimes makes the biggest impact ever, because it's actually showing that you're passionate, that you're interested in learning and actually taking these steps. Now I've found myself in like a bit of a pickle where it's like, okay, acceptance, 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 and I have like so much to do now, and I'm like, what did I get myself into? But that's where all the prioritizing, stress management, time management comes in. And I'm 16. I haven't even lived a quarter of my life. I'm still learning, and I'm going to have a lot more failures and a lot more successes. But if I have the right mindset, if I have that growth mindset, that actually I don't have to get everything perfect instantly, but I can still learn from my mistakes and grow from them. I think having that kind of mindset is really important.
100%. And it goes back to, that's the kind of stuff that you'd love to be taught. Growth mindset is a fantastic,
Yeah,
fantastic, fantastic superpower. I think it's a superpower to have, but not everyone has it, and it's free. Everyone can have it.
totally.
Everyone can
Mm,
have it. But I like what you said, that with you're now in a situation where you'd rather be, where you have the option of saying no, as
mm,
opposed to please, please. You've got the option of saying no, which is
yeah.
which is which is fantastic, which is really, really, really beautiful. Talking about other things that you do. Let's talk about your involvement with TEDx. So how did you get involved in this? So obviously you put your hand up for a lot of things there. TEDx is,
Yes.
TED Talks are pretty amazing. As the world has got TEDx's around the place there, how did you say, hey, this is something else I want to get involved in? Because
Okay.
again, that's a pretty thing as well.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so obviously we have like the TED Talks, and then TEDx just means like independently organized TED Talk. So we had one in our local area, which is Paparangi in Newlands, and so that was kind of started up by someone in my school last year. And so this year there was a new head of TEDx, and I was in India at the time when the application went out, and it was like 2 a.m. My time, and I couldn't tell you what time it was in New Zealand, but it was the last time to apply, and I was just sitting there, and I was like, should I apply? Should I apply? So I did it. I did a really shockingly bad application, and I was like, no, take the risk or lose a chance kind of mindset. So I applied, and then they got back to me. Um, you know, in like mid-February. They're like, congratulations, you're now the head of marketing. And I was like, whoa, I like that title. You can give me that title. Um, but it was kind of like a step because I'd never done it before, but now suddenly I was managing a team of 4 people and we had to get out all the promotional material and do all this. And it was definitely a learning curve, but it was also a really strong committee and a lot of the people were from my school. And so I knew them and I had those connections with them. Um, but it was like, what, 4 or 5 months of solid planning, giving up 3 hours every Sunday to, grind, grind, grind. Um, and then it came to our event, which was absolutely amazing because young people's words hold so much power, and it was so awesome to realize that when they had owned the stage and they were sharing their stories, and I was in awe of them. And then during the end, the lead organizer for this year, she was like, Avi, I have a surprise for you, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. And I was like, what could it be? And then um, she called me up at the end of the show, and everyone was like, woo! And she was like, you're going to be the head of TEDx for next year. And I was like, wow, that is awesome. And I can lead a committee of 20 people now, and I can run the show next year, and I can take the torch, and I can envision an event and then see it happen and make it happen. Get all these amazing speakers and groups come in, get everyone to come and listen to what the young people have to say. And I think that, sometimes I was like, why am I giving up my Sundays? What am I doing this for? But then seeing the event happen and then seeing that they were actually impressed by me and they trusted me enough to let me run it next year, I was like, that's really awesome. So I'm really excited to run it next year, and you should totally come along to my event if you're there. That would be really cool.
Oh, brilliant. What a great invite. That's fantastic. And well done. Congratulations. But it's also a testament again to your, I'm going to go back then, a testament to you put an application at 2 o'clock in the morning in India, but
Yeah.
in your eyes, it was a bad
Yeah.
application. But obviously, it couldn't have been a bad application. But also, if we think back to your statement before, when you were doing an interview with the youth council, you're in the green room on the phone, you're like, oh, damn, this is terrible. But again, it's come across as, but again, we are our own worst enemies, right? We're at that point, you're like, cool, this is not me, this is not me. But obviously, someone has, whatever you've done is actually pretty good. So that's fantastic. And it's awesome to have the TEDx talks. And yeah, if I'm in Wellington, I will definitely love to come along and have a listen. And yeah, and go, yo, I know the person. Autograph, before she becomes famous, which is crazy. Partly we've spoken about all the good things here, but let's shift to focus a little bit because life is not always on a high. There's some lows as well. So what are some of the challenges that you've had? We spoke about rejection, but that's not the low I'm talking about. I'm talking about things that we got, man, this is just really challenging for me as a young person.
Okay, number one would definitely be experiencing like burnout, going from excelling to barely passing the bare minimum, and definitely being my teacher's favorites to them seeing me as what wasted potential or something like that in my own mind. So kind of, I guess at points my mind is like my biggest enemy because I'm making myself believe all these things that may not necessarily be true, but now I'm like sending myself down this spiral of like bad thoughts, negative thoughts, which is totally wrong. You should always be empowering yourself because you're the only person that can actually, give yourself that energy and give yourself that boost. Like I constantly give myself that thoughts. Like 5 minutes before this interview, I was like, okay, Abby, you've got this, you're gonna do this, you're gonna ace it. If it goes terribly, then it goes terribly, but who cares, right? Everything's an opportunity. Another one would definitely be competition, I guess. Like, I grew up with an older brother, so competitiveness is like embedded into my identity. So whenever, I see other people in my class or doing things better than me or whatever, I'm like, why am I not at your level? Why am I not doing as amazing as you? And it's been like a long learning process, but now I'm able to say, actually, someone else's success is confirmation that my own success is coming, and that there's room for me to succeed. There's also room for my brothers, my sisters, and my friends, everyone else to succeed. That's a big one. Another one would definitely be sometimes I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and so I have that all or nothing at all mindset. So I either do it perfectly or I won't do it at all. And if I know that I'm not going to be instantly perfect in it, then I won't even try, which is a really bad mindset because the best learning comes from actually doing something, doing it like shockingly, horribly wrong, and then learning from it so that you don't repeat that next time. like you said, imposter syndrome is also a big one. Like feeling like a fraud in my own life and being like, I'm not good enough. I should be able to do this. Who am I? Why do you want me on this podcast? Like what have I actually done? Kind of like telling myself those things and eventually making me believe those things, which is not great. And then I'd say for a final one, it'd definitely be maintaining friendships. Because I think that's a big one actually. I'm in college now, and so when I made the transition from intermediate to college, I obviously, lost a lot of friends there because we all went separate paths. And then people's priorities in college started to change. Some people went down the partying, drinking path, and that really wasn't for me. And so it was like, what are my values? Who am I as a person? What is my identity? I made my identity so strong that nobody else can take it away from me. And when I figured out what my priorities were, that's when I was able to kind of have that mindset. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. So is me hanging out with you going to be good for me? Not like in an opportunist kind of way, like, are you going to get me anywhere? But actually, for my long-term success and happiness and well-being, are you going to be a good person to keep in my life? Or can I just maybe have you as an acquaintance? So not completely just cut you out, but maybe just, keep you on the sideline. But yeah, I think those were definitely the main struggles. Yeah, I think everything is overcomable, everything is figure outable, but it's like you have to go through it and experience it to actually know for next time, hey, what can I do to make this better?
Thank you for sharing that, because each one of those is really profound. Friendships is really massive, especially when you're a young person. But I love how you said it's not about whether you're going to be good for me or not, because what you mentioned before was values. If you seek value-driven friendships, you're going to find people that are going to resonate with you, and just by having the same values, you are going to be successful. And I think that's pretty important. Whatever success looks like, whatever that looks like, it'll be successful. If the values are negative values, you're going to be successful being negative. It doesn't matter. The success is depending on those values there. And competition. And I think the word instead we should use is comparison. I think comparison is ingrained in human nature. We always compare about the other person. I wish or that person's better than me. But when you go, right, cool, it's not actually competitive about comparison. Why am I doing this to myself? And as you said before, everyone's in their own path, and success in their journey is their success. It doesn't mean if they're successful, I'm not successful. It's their path in their story that they've written. So, which is great. And everyone's got their own path. Everyone's got their own path. But what I love about your story so far is the awareness. When you are aware of the bad things or the struggles, this is when you can overcome them. But if you choose to ignore them or you choose to avoid them, then you can't actually overcome them. Can't overcome them, which is novel. Talking about overcoming stuff, let's talk about your radio show. How did you get involved in radio?
Oh, okay. I love this. This is my favorite story ever. Okay, so from this, 40 minutes that we've already been chatting, I'm definitely an impulse applier. So I'll see something and I'll be like, yeah, I want to do that. I want to do that. And so there was this thing, it's called Voice of Aroha, which is a radio show aimed at amplifying, the voices of refugees, migrants, ethnic minorities, marginalized communities. And so I signed up to be a volunteer and a co-host. And they didn't ask for my age, so I didn't mention that I was 15 years old. I was like, that can just be a fun surprise if they let me in. And so I think I was at Auckland this time. This is when I was getting off my plane from India, and I was in the hotel in Auckland waiting to get back on my plane from Wellington. And he was like, hey, I'm free to do a Zoom call now. This is the CEO. He was like, I'm free to do a Zoom call if you're keen. And I was like, yep, I'm keen. So I was at the airport. Okay. Always in random locations, but I was at the airport. I was sitting in the room, and he called me and he was like, hi, how are you? And it was just so nice to see like a really friendly, positive person, on the other side of the screen. And so we had a conversation, and he was like, yes, we're a radio show. Play to everyone's strengths. You only have to give as much time as you can as a person. I thought, wow, this is awesome. Like, I definitely want to be a part of this. And so a week after that, he invited me to this team meeting, and I walked in. It was like a small room in the radio station. Maybe like 10, 12 people sitting there. And everyone was so lovely. Okay, everyone was like, hi, hi. They didn't treat me as an outsider. Like, I felt like I instantly went in and I was one of them. And then it came to my time doing my first interview. And this time they knew I was 15. And I was like, wow, they really have a lot of trust in me if they're just going to let me like speak to people. And I had like my partner with me and we both did it. And I came out of that interview. I had made a new LinkedIn connection, which is so great. I had made a new friend. I had heard from this inspiring person who had told me about their life, their struggles. And even though I was nervous, I knew that that speaker was definitely way more nervous than I was. And it's kind of, finding that middle ground and actually realizing, hey, everyone has a story to share, and actually letting people express themselves on a supportive platform and being able to be that friendly face where they can actually, feel vulnerable to actually share their story. It's definitely awesome. And I love it. And I've been with them since the start of the year. And I'm planning to continue being with them. They're a really awesome community. I've met so many people from there, been able to meet so many opportunities. It's a secret, but um, we're currently filming a climate video, which is great. So we've got like a green screen and everything, and we're currently doing like this team project, which is awesome and definitely allowed me to use my skills and actually play to my strengths, I guess.
Brian, I love that. What I love about that is, once again, you were in the most random place, getting a call. I'm just noticing a trend here. Two trends here. The fact that you apply for things in the most random places to get this call, which is fantastic.
Love it.
But I love it because you don't let that stop you. Another person will like, actually, I can't take the call because I'm at the airport right now. So, but you're like, oh, stuff it. I'm just gonna have the interview
Oh,
and see what happens.
do it.
So, which is really 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 cool. And I love what you said there about that when you got there, you were nervous, but you also were aware that the fact that the person you're interviewing is also nervous as well. And at this stage, they're in your space, so you've got to make them feel
Yeah,
comfortable. And that's something that
exactly.
I've learned over time, that you're going to be as crazy nervous, but this person you're
Yeah,
speaking to is 10 times more nervous than you
even
because you're
more
in.
nervous.
Yeah, so it's really awesome. And a bit like when you jumped on this call, you're like, oh, I'm not too sure what we're going to talk about today, and hopefully you realize that, hey, it's pretty chill. It
I
is
love
pretty
it.
chill.
And you probably already noticed that it took like no convincing to get me to say yes. We're just like, hey, we have a podcast. And I was like, yes, I'll do it. Because
Yeah, it was.
everything's an opportunity. Everything is like a chance for you to meet awesome people and just try things and mess up, but then try again and do even better. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, totally. And I guess what's the worst that could happen? In
Exactly.
in most cases, unless it's something really silly, most cases nothing bad is going to happen, right? You're like, right, cool, give it a
Yeah.
crack. Didn't work out. Okay, cool, whatever. Who cares? I just move on. Tomorrow's another day. Tomorrow's Monday, and off I go. Life is going to carry on, which is great. Um, I'm going to circle right back to today's Father's Day. Have you done anything exciting for your dad?
Yeah. Okay, so me and my dad are like we're like a duo, honestly. We've done so many things together. We've emceed so many events together. Um, so he's a big fan of the Backstreet Boys, and so I did a
A great
live
band. They're a great
concert
band.
for him singing "I Want It That Way," which is awesome. He definitely didn't appreciate it. He was like, he definitely loved it. It was really fun. Me and my dad have during COVID, we used to go for walks every single day, and to kind of keep up with our own well-being. I had school, he had work, but yeah, it's been great. I'm gonna go give him more live songs after this for him to enjoy while he's cooking. My mom's actually in India right now, so it's just me and him and I for the past 3 weeks. Mom's coming back next week, but that means like my dad's really had to step into his role doing all the cooking, the cleaning. I haven't been much help. I should probably go help out a little bit more, but yeah.
That's all good. You can go back and start with "Guess Who's Back." Back is back. Guess Who's Back. Out is back. That's a great
Yeah.
song right there. There we go. And that segues really awesome into the next question is, as a young person, you're doing all this here, but obviously, excuse me, obviously, your family has been a massive support for you, and especially because, like you said right before in the middle of the conversation, that there's not many people like yourself that look like you that are doing this here. So
Yeah.
let's talk about how your family have backed you and said, hey, let's go, let's get this going.
Okay. Okay. This is a really, really good question. I think a very, very big one is my dad is my Uber driver, which is like
Do you pay him?
amazing.
Do you pay him?
I wouldn't. No.
So yeah, it's a free driver. Free driver. There we go.
Free driver. He takes me everywhere. And I honestly couldn't do anything of what I like did if he wasn't there to, manage my schedule and his like, Dad, I have to be here at this time, I have to be here at this time. And usually I will use public transport if it's like to the city or whatever, but if it's a place where I actually can't, then he needs to drop me, even if it's like 45 minutes away, and he does it, and he doesn't like complain about it. I'm so grateful for. Um, my mum is like the person that keeps me going when I'm like, I don't want to do this. Why am I doing it? And she tells me that I have to be consistent and I have to keep going. And consistency is not just about like doing something every single day, constantly without taking a break. It's more like on the days where I feel particularly unmotivated, like I don't want to do anything, actually getting up and saying, hey, I'm going to do this. And my mom's the kind of person that's like, go do it, just do it, get it out the way. You've got this. She's definitely my hype girl, and I love her for it. It's also my like free therapist. I tell her everything. I run to her. I'm like, what this person said to me today, and she usually gives me like rational advice, which I sometimes don't appreciate. I just don't want any advice after I tell her. Sometimes the lecture will come in, but I'm actually really like grateful for it. And yeah, she's just a really awesome person, and definitely my family is like a huge one, and also my community that have also like backed me through everything and supported me and like proud of me and telling that their kids, oh, you can ask her how to get into these different opportunities, because I'd love to tell you how to. I want you to come. I want every single kid in this community to come be part of what I do. I want to be part of the success stories of like hundreds of ethnic youth. And so I think it's really great, and I'm really lucky and privileged to have such a supportive foundation that have been really awesome.
That's really beautiful. I mean, blood is thicker than water, and sometimes not everyone has got family that supports them, and and you've
Yeah.
got to rebel against it. But it's fantastic that you have a fantastic supporting family. But also the fact that you have taken that on to go, hey, actually, if I start being successful, whatever success looks like, that others in my community will go, hey, if she can do it, it's awesome. I not that I can be like her, but I can ask her. Very different, right?
Yeah.
Two different things there. Two different things
like,
there.
I don't want you to be like me. I want
Yeah.
you to do better than me. I want you to learn from me and then be your own person and just do so many awesome things. Whatever success looks like to you as a person, go achieve it. Go achieve your dreams and your goals. And I'll always be there cheering you on, right? Because I've always got your back. So I think that's definitely really important.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Aarthi, this time has just flown. It's already almost an hour. I mean, this is quite crazy. I love the flow. We can keep talking, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to round up the podcast, and I'm going to ask you a question that we ask all our guests.
Okay.
Our podcast is called Baskets of Knowledge.
Yeah.
We would love you to share a piece of knowledge to put in our basket of knowledge for myself, Tane, and for our listeners that you think would be amazing from your lived experience or other.
I love basket knowledge so much. It's like I have my shared experiences, you have your shared experiences, but we can put this in this like combined baskets of knowledge where we have our shared experience we can learn from other people. Okay, I just think about this. Okay, my first one. Should I do two?
You can do three if you want. I'll give you three.
Okay, good. Okay, my first one would definitely be prioritize yourself. Okay, because you can't pour from an empty cup is essentially what I'm trying to say. So you have to make sure that you're healthy and you're able and you're willing and you're strong and you're okay enough to actually carry out everything that you need to do. But always look after yourself first, because there's no point if you're burning yourself out, because then you're just averagely doing everything and you're not really excelling at anything. So take care of yourself first.
And I guess you do that through meditation and journaling, and that's what you do, right? Yep.
Yeah. I'm definitely over sign upper to things and then like an under deliverer. So don't be like me, but I think explore your opportunities, definitely. But sign up for things even if you're unsure. If someone asks you to get a coffee, say yes, because you never know where that particular conversation, that particular meetup is going to take you. So my thing would be always say yes. We learn this in like drama class, improv. Say yes, do it. Okay, what's the worst that could happen? And my second one would be don't live for anyone else, live for yourself. And sometimes it helps. I have a vision board, right? And it's all over the place, all these things that I want to accomplish. But it helps me like see what are my goals, and if I need to stay focused. So everything that I do is to get to that goal. Um, that would be my second one. And my third one would just be have fun. Okay, it's your life. You can achieve, you can get good grades, you can go get an awesome job, you can be a CEO of a successful business. But if you're just working, 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 and you never find that work-life balance, then what's the point? So like work to live, but don't live to work. And whatever you do it and you're enjoying it, then you're gonna ace it. You're gonna be awesome. So just because your parents tell you you should go into medicine, don't do it. I want to go into humanitarian aid or education or something like that because that's who I am and that's what I see myself going into. And I'm going to have a lot of grandparents and people that are not going to be too happy with that. But at the end of the day, I am. It's my life and I'm going to live it and I'm going to go through it. So I might as well like what I'm doing. So that was more than one, but I hope that's okay.
That's okay, dude. I mean, this whole conversation has had lots of knowledge, but I think the way you nailed it, I think you gave me four actually, because saying yes is also one. So those are really, really awesome things there. But I think the one that's the most important one there is to have fun. A lot of times we end up going for a purpose, and then we get so ingrained in the purpose that we forget about the fun and the reason why we went for the purpose. Then we get so ingrained, and then it becomes a chore. And you go, actually, wait a minute. If I step back and go, actually, hey, I'm doing this because it's fun. A bit like this podcast is pure fun. We love it. If we had a different agenda, it'd be totally different. So we go, cool, we're just gonna have fun with our guests. We have no idea, there's no agenda, there's no flow, we're just happy. So those are beautiful shares. And I know I've learned a lot from there, and I'm sure our listeners will as well. Aarthi, before we round up, is there anything else that you'd like to share about? Let's talk about actually, I'm not going to end the podcast. I'm going to carry on if you don't mind. Can I carry on? Cool. Yeah, great. So I also want to talk about, you mentioned that you were a youth ambassador for Save the Children. How did you get involved in that there? Tell me, because that's another amazing organization.
This is my favorite thing ever, okay? So it's called Generation Hope, and it's the youth engagement program of Save the Children New Zealand. So I was in India when they started up this thing, and so I used to volunteer at the Wellington City Mission, and the engagement coordinator there, she left and to go to a new job, so the program got shut down. And so when I was there, I was like, I did a lot of things. I used to help stock their social supermarket, clean, cook for the community kitchen, and then that was for my Duke of Edinburgh. I'm currently doing my silver, but then they shut the program down, and I was like, well, what am I gonna do now? And then obviously I went to India, and I got this text from the same, like engagement coordinator lady, and she was like, hey, I got a job at Save the Children now, and we're doing this youth engagement program, and I want you to be a part of it. I want you to help make our promo video. And I was like, well, yeah, but like when? Because I'm not really in the country at the moment. She was like, whenever works for you. And I was like, okay, she wants me on here. Like whenever works for me, that's great. She wants my time. I felt kind of like, wow, at that point. But then when I got back, they took me to this like place in Tahi Bay, which is in Koriroa, and it was this like beautiful hill location. And they made me do like a lot of weird things. They're like, okay, I want you to put your hands on this rock and like step up, and I want you to stand here, and I want you to pick up these rocks, and I want you to run your hands through the water, and I want you to like jump, and I want you to walk through the grass. I want you to open your water bottle. And I was like, well, what is the point of this? Right. And then I got to see the promo video come together, and it looked so cool. And I was like, this is actually happening. Wow. And then after that, we had our first camp. So I think there's like 18 of us. And so young people from all across New Zealand came to this, and it was held in Wellington. And I got to meet so many inspiring, hilarious, people like me that were so chaotic. They didn't know what they wanted to do with their lives, but they knew that they wanted to, be part of this program that can actually help enable other children to feel empowered and educated. And it's so great because even though we all live in different parts of New Zealand, we have like a meeting to, discuss, like what's our next steps, what's our vision, what projects are we going to host. And so as a ambassador, I've been able to travel to lots of schools and like organizations. I went to my old girl guiding place like a few weeks ago to run a workshop on children's rights and actually teach them, these are your rights. What are they? How can you use them? How are they going to enable you to be a strong and empowered citizen? And really great. And I've also learned a lot through the process. I really loved it. And I think that's definitely what kind of pushed my interest for education, humanitarian aid, because I speak from a really, really privileged point of view. I've never had to worry about money before signing up to an extracurricular, I've never had to worry like, oh, my parents are not going to be able to support me through this. And so I want to be able to do the same for other young people, and I want to educate them, and I want them to know that, your voice matters and everything you say holds so much power. And sometimes their words go overlooked by politicians, by the government, but actually showing them that, hey, I care. I want to listen to you, and I want to hear your concerns and hear your visions for the future, and see, how together we can build solutions and build, these innovative ideas.
I love that, because it started off with, oh, why am I doing this here, to actually, this is actually quite profound, because it's about, from a video, it's like, well, what's going on here? But the actual reality and the change that you are, you're not implementing, but you're part of a change cycle, and that's what's important to remember, that, and also the awareness that, hey, you come from a privileged background, and there's nothing wrong, there's nothing bad about that. And I think the world goes that, oh, if you're privileged, you should be guilty, but actually there's no way, because your parents worked hard to get to where they were. And I think some people have got to stop saying that, oh, you're privileged, so therefore, but actually your privilege is based on other people's hard work, and it just depends on what you do with it, right? So you've taken on, actually, I'm not going to sit back and just enjoy the privileges, I'm going to pay it forward to those. So that's the beauty, which is fantastic.
I'm the daughter of two migrant parents, and they came to New Zealand, and they didn't have a lot of opportunities that I'm getting now. Right, and so I should take these, and I should get the benefit from them, and I should enable other young people to do the same. And I think that's really great to pay it forward, give back to my community that has given me so much.
Yeah, and also it's for yourself. It is respect to your family, that actually, hey, they've done that. It's my respect for them is I'm actually going to achieve and do things, whatever those things look like, and you're not an overachiever. You are doing some amazing things, which is fantastic. You said something there which made me chuckle, when you're like, I apply for everything, then I feel like I underachieve, but actually I don't think that's the case. I think you smashed it, so, which is really beautiful. Aarthi, thank you so much for jumping on to our podcast today. I'm pretty sure we'll get you back on at some point again, because I'm pretty sure there's some pretty cool things you're going to get up to.
I love it.
Yeah, so thank you for jumping on. Thank you for spending time. Thank you for sharing your story. For our listeners out there, jump on, have a listen, go through it again. I'm sure you'll find pieces of knowledge that are pretty amazing with everything that Aarthi has said today. I've learned a lot. If you haven't learned anything, then you haven't been listening. So go back and listen. Till next time, ka kite. Thank you very much, and thank you, Aarthi. Peace, everybody.
Thank you. Peace.
Thank you for listening to Baskets of Knowledge.
Yeah, we hope that you found something useful to put into your basket of knowledge. And as we said before, remember to put something little into your baskets of knowledge every week. And as always, feel free to like, comment, and share this podcast. Thanks, everybody. Bye.